Captain Jaina Rice stood on the bridge of the UNSS Defiant, gazing out at the massive space station hanging against the starry void. The Icarus station was a marvel of engineering, a shining symbol of the newfound cooperation between humanity and the advanced alien race known as the Vari. "Quite a sight, isn't it, Captain?" Commander Liam O'Connor said, stepping up beside her. "To think, just a decade ago, we were on the brink of war with the Vari. Now we're about to sign a historic trade agreement." Jaina nodded, a slight smile on her lips. "It's a testament to how far we've come. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. These negotiations will be delicate." As if on cue, the comm officer called out, "Captain, incoming message from Icarus Station. It's the Vari ambassador." Jaina straightened her uniform. On screen. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, elegant figure with pale blue skin and silver eyes. "Greetings, Captain Rice," Ambassador Valor Kyron said, inclining his head. "We look forward to your arrival. The future of our peoples hinges on the success of this summit." "Indeed it does, Ambassador," Jaina replied. "We're honored to represent Earth in these discussions. I anticipate." Suddenly, the image distorted, pixelating and then dissolving into static. Jaina frowned. What happened? The comm officer frantically worked her console. "We've lost the signal." "No, wait, we're being jammed." The tactical officer's eyes widened. "Captain, sensors are picking up an unknown vessel decloaking near the station. It's powering weapons." "Red alert," Jaina barked. "All hands to battle stations." The Defiant's klaxons blared as the crew raced to their posts. On the view screen, a sleek, predatory ship materialized, its hull a matte black that seemed to absorb the light. It bore no markings, no identifiable insignia. "Hail them," Jaina ordered, but the comm officer shook her head. No response. "They're firing." The tactical officer shouted. The mysterious vessel unleashed a barrage of brilliant green energy beams, which slammed into Icarus Station's shields. The station shuddered under the impact, its defensive grid flickering. Jaina gripped the arm of her chair. "Move us between that ship and the station. Return fire. Target their weapon systems." The Defiant surged forward, its own shields flaring as it absorbed the incoming fire. Its phaser banks glowed, lancing out at the attacker, but the enemy ship was fast, evading with unnatural agility. On the station, explosions blossomed across the outer hull as the shields failed in several sections. Debris spun out into space, glittering in the starlight. "The station is hailing us," the comm officer reported, her voice tight. "They're reporting heavy damage and casualties. Ambassador Kyron is requesting immediate evacuation." Jaina's jaw clenched. This was supposed to be a mission of peace, not a rescue operation in the midst of a space battle. But she had no choice. "Tell the ambassador we're on our way. Ready transport rooms and medical bays." As the crew rushed to comply, Jaina stared at the attacking ship on the view screen, a cold knot forming in her gut. Who were they? Why would they attack now, on the eve of the most important diplomatic event in recent history? One thing was clear. This summit had just become far more than a simple trade negotiation. The mysteries surrounding this attacker would have to be unraveled, and fast. The future of human-Vari relations, and perhaps the balance of power in the galaxy itself, now hung in the balance. The bridge shook as another blast hit the Defiant's shields, but Jaina's resolve only hardened. One way or another, she would get to the bottom of this. The summit, and all it represented, would not fail. Not on her watch. The Defiant's sickbay was a hive of controlled chaos as the injured from Icarus Station were beamed aboard. Medics rushed from one patient to the next, the air filled with pained groans and the hiss of dermal regenerators. Captain Jaina Rice strode through the tumult, her eyes fixed on the tall, blue-skinned figure being treated in the far corner. Ambassador Valor Kyron looked up as she approached, his silver eyes weary but alert. "Ambassador," Jaina said, nodding respectfully, "I'm relieved to see you're all right." Chiron inclined his head. Thanks to your timely intervention, Captain. But the attack, it was so sudden, so brutal. I cannot fathom who would do such a thing. Jaina's expression darkened. We're working on that. Our tactical teams are analyzing the sensor data now. As if summoned, Commander O'Connor's voice crackled over the comm. Captain, we've identified the attacking ship. You're going to want to see this. Minutes later, Jaina and Kilran were in the Defiance briefing room, staring at the holographic display. The image of the mysterious black ship rotated slowly, information scrolling alongside it. It's Vari, O'Connor said grimly. Specifically, it matches the profile of a stealth frigate used by the Vari Shadow Guard. Chiron's eyes widened. The Shadow Guard. But they are an elite unit, tasked with protecting our highest officials and most sensitive installations. They answer directly to the Supreme Council. Why would they attack the summit? Jaina leaned forward, studying the readouts. Could they have gone rogue? Or could someone on your Supreme Council be working against the peace process? The ambassador looked stricken at the thought. I do not know. Such a betrayal is almost unthinkable. But the evidence. We need answers, Jaina said firmly. And we need them fast. The longer this mystery remains, the more danger the summit and our alliance is in. O'Connor nodded. Our best lead is the frigate itself. If we can track it, intercept it, maybe we can find out who's behind this and why. Agreed, Jaina said. Ambassador, I know this is a sensitive matter for your people, but I must ask, will the Vari government support us in this? We can't afford to have divided loyalties, not now. Chiron drew himself up, his eyes hardening with resolve. Captain, the attack on Icarus Station was an attack on the very future we are trying to build together. Whoever is responsible, they are no friends to the Vari. You will have my full cooperation, and that of my government. Jaina nodded, respect and gratitude in her gaze. Thank you, Ambassador. Let's get to work. The hunt was on. The Defiant, with Ambassador Kilran on board, set off in pursuit of the rogue frigate, following the faint ion trails it had left behind. But even as they raced through the stars, Jaina couldn't shake the feeling that they were being pulled into something larger, something more complex and dangerous than a simple rogue faction. In the ship's labs, science teams worked around the clock, analyzing every scrap of data from the attack. Engineer crews fine-tuned the Defiant sensors, pushing them to the limit to track their elusive prey. On the bridge, Jaina and her officers pored over star maps and intelligence reports, trying to anticipate the frigate's next move. And through it all, Jaina and Kilran found themselves working closer than ever, the human captain and the Vari ambassador united in their determination to unravel this mystery and safeguard the fragile peace they had worked so hard to build. They knew they were racing against time. Every hour the rogue faction remained free was an hour they could strike again, sowing more chaos and mistrust. The very future hung in the balance. But Jaina Reyes had never been one to shy away from a challenge. With her ship and her crew, with the wisdom of Ambassador Kilran at her side, she would face this crisis head-on. She would find the truth, no matter where it led. For the sake of the summit, for the sake of the alliance, for the sake of all they had fought for, she would not fail. The stars blurred into streaks of light as the Defiant leaped into warp, hurtling toward its next lead, its next confrontation. The hunt continued. The Defiant dropped out of warp at the edge of a dense nebula, its swirling clouds of gas and dust glowing in shades of violet and crimson. Somewhere within that cosmic haze, the rogue Vari frigate was hiding, licking its wounds after a series of running battles with Jaina Reyes and her crew. On the bridge, Captain Reyes stood shoulder to shoulder with Ambassador Chiron, both of them staring intently at the view screen. "They're in there, sir," Commander O'Connor reported from the tactical station. "But the nebula's interfering with our sensors. We won't be able to get a clear lock on them." Jaina frowned, her mind racing. Every minute the frigate remained hidden, was another minute for the rogue faction to regroup, to plan their next move. They needed to flush them out, and fast. Suddenly, Chiron stiffened, his eyes widening. "Captain, I believe I know where they are going. The nebula. It is not just a hiding place. It is a waypoint." Jaina turned to him, her eyebrows raised. "A waypoint to what?" The ambassador's expression was grave. "To an ancient secret, one that the Vari have guarded for generations. A derelict space station, dating back to the dawn of our civilization. It is said to house an artifact of immense power." O'Connor leaned forward, his interest piqued. "What kind of artifact?" Chiron shook his head. "The records are unclear. Some say it is a weapon, others a source of limitless energy. But all agree that it is dangerous, and that it must never fall into the wrong hands." Jaina's jaw tightened. "And you think the rogue faction is after this artifact?" "It would explain their actions," Chiron said. "The attack on Icarus Station, the luring of your ship here, it could all be part of a plan to secure the artifact for themselves." "Then we need to get to that station first," Jaina said decisively. "Ambassador, can you guide us through the nebula?" Chiron nodded, already moving to the navigation console. "I can. But we must hurry. If the rogues reach the artifact before us..." He let the thought hang in the air, the implications all too clear. Jaina gave a curt nod, then turned to her crew. "Red alert. All hands. Battle stations. We're going in." Under Chiron's guidance, the Defiant plunged into the swirling nebula, its shields shimmering as they deflected the crackling energy discharges. On the view screen, ghostly shapes loomed out of the mist, the hulks of ancient ships and stations long abandoned. And there, at the heart of the nebula, they found it. The derelict station was a behemoth, its hull pitted and scarred by eons of exposure to the ravages of space. But power still thrummed through its ancient circuits, and the faint glow of active systems could be seen through its portholes. "The rogue frigate is already docked," O'Connor reported, his voice tight. "They're inside the station." Jaina's eyes narrowed. "Then so are we. Ambassador, Commander, with me. We're going to secure that artifact before the rogues can reach it." Minutes later, Jaina led her away team through the eerie, echoing corridors of the ancient station. The air was stale, the gravity fluctuating, but the urgency of their mission drove them onward. They found the rogues in the heart of the station, in a vast chamber dominated by a glowing, pulsing orb of energy. The artifact. The rogues whirled to face them, weapons drawn, desperation and madness in their eyes. "Stand down," Jaina barked, her own phaser leveled. "You're outnumbered and outgunned. It's over." But the rogue leader, a tall Vari with a jagged scar down his face, only laughed. "You're too late, Captain. The power of the ancients is ours. With this, we will reshape the galaxy, and the Vari will ascend to their rightful place as its masters." He reached for the artifact, his hand passing through the energy field. And the world exploded into light. White light filled the chamber, blinding in its intensity. Jaina felt herself lifted off her feet, the sheer power of the artifact washing over her like a tidal wave. She could hear screams, the shattering of equipment, but it all seemed distant, muffled. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The light faded, and Jaina found herself on her knees, gasping for breath. Around her, the chamber was in ruins, the rogue Vari sprawled unconscious on the floor. Ambassador Chiron was the first to stagger to his feet, his face ashen. "By the stars, the power. I had no idea." Jaina looked to the artifact, now dark and dormant. What happened? Why did it stop? O'Connor, already scanning with his tricorder, looked up in amazement. "It's drained, sir. Whatever that rogue did, it triggered some kind of massive energy discharge. The artifact is inert now." Chiron approached the orb cautiously, reverence and fear warring on his face. "Perhaps it is for the best. Such power, it is too much for any one being, any one race to control. Jaina nodded slowly, understanding dawning. That's what this was all about. The rogues wanted to use this to make the Vari dominant, to end the alliance with humanity before it could begin. And they were willing to risk everything to do it, Chiron said softly. The attack on Icarus Station, the chaos, the destruction, all for this. Jaina stood, her resolve hardening. But they failed. We stopped them. And in doing so, we've proven that humans and Vari are stronger together than we ever could be apart. She tapped her comm badge. Rise to Defiant. Prepare to beam us back, and alert the Vari authorities. We have some prisoners for them. Hours later, Jaina stood once more on the bridge of the Defiant, watching as the ancient station receded into the distance. The Vari Science Council had taken possession of the artifact, pledging to study it carefully and share their findings with their human allies. Ambassador Chiron stood at her side, his bearing regal despite the trials of the past days. Your actions here will not be forgotten, Captain Reyes. You have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of, not just your strength, but your compassion, your commitment to peace. Jaina smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, Ambassador. The summit, the trade agreements. We've only just begun. Indeed, Chiron agreed. But I believe we will face those challenges as true partners, with trust and respect between our peoples. A new era has begun. As the Defiant set course for home, Jaina couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and hope. They had faced the unknown, grappled with ancient mysteries and rogue factions, and emerged stronger for it. The future was bright, and whatever challenges lay ahead, humans and Vari would face them together, united in their determination to build a better galaxy for all. The stars streaked by the view screen as the Defiant leaped into warp, carrying its crew and its precious cargo of newfound trust and understanding. A new chapter had begun, and Jaina Reyes was ready to help write it.